Hi everyone. I have a lot of things that I've been wanting to talk about, but I just want to share a couple of tables that I pulled up yesterday for now, because these have to do with Pentecost and Mount Sinai, and I just tried to pull these up yesterday. I've had these tabs up since yesterday. There's a few things I wanted to talk about, but I'm just going to start by trying to share these tables. And as you can see, this one reads Theophany, Pentecost, Sinai, Yesh, which is short for Yeshua, Ruth, God, and Eden. And the reason I put in the word Theophany is because I was recently looking at this article, which is one that I talked about last Pentecost, but it talks about the many parallels between Sinai and what happened in the book of Acts on Pentecost, and it's explaining how Mount Sinai is actually a parallel of Mount Zion, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, but it's saying that both of these events were theophanies. What happened on Mount Sinai was considered a theophany, which means the appearance of God. And if you remember, I had done a table on the word theophany and Jesus, and it came up with 27 matches, and it came up in verses spanning 2012 through 2017 in the book of Matthew. Okay, so now I want to show you this table. This one reads Theophany, Pentecost, Sinai, Yesh, which is short for Yeshua, and you might think, well, that's a stretch for it to be abbreviated so much, and I thought that at first, the first time I tried that. That's why I never really shared a table with the word Yesh in it. But what I've been noticing is that God has been confirming the term Yesh as Yeshua in many of the tables, and I can show you some more, but this particular table comes up in Deuteronomy 7, and there's 17 matches for this one, and this one just reads Theophany, Pentecost, Yesh, and Ruth, and Yesh is short for Yeshua, as I said, and you can see that right here in the blue, the letters Y, E, S, H, and then crossing through it, you have the word Theo. It's actually Theo, which means God. That's how it's pronounced in the Greek. It's T-H-E-W, and right here you have He is God. So Yesh, Theo, and He is God. And then right here it has Jehovah thy God. He is God. And then you have Yesh, and then you have Theo, which means God. And I'll go over this table some more later, but I want to get back to this one. And I just want to show the different stages of how I came up with these tables. But as you can see, this one right here comes up in the first book of Kings 29 through 2018. And then the very first table that I did on Theophany that I did a video about was Theophany Jesus, and that came up in verses 1 Matthew 20, verses 12 through 17. Okay, so if you consider this as years, you have pretty much the same range or very similar range of years coming up in this table. Okay, so in this one you have God coming up here in the corner in the green with the letters G-O-D. You have Eden, which means heaven, coming up in the burgundy with the letters E-D-E-N. And then you have Pente, which is the first part of Pentecost, here in the lavender with the letters P-E-N-T-E. Then you have Sinai going right through that. the letters S, I, N, A, I. And then you have the second part of the word Pentecost here with the letters C, O, S, T. And then you have Ruth here in the yellow, the letters R, U, T, H. And it's interesting that Ruth comes up right where it says, they set themselves in array. And you have that a couple of times. It says it again over here. Set yourselves in array. And so that's where you have the name Ruth coming up. Right where you have the word array. And I'll just show you a couple of examples of the word array in the scriptures. Over here in Revelation 7:13 it says, and one of the elders answered, saying unto me, what are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence came they? And this, of course, is talking about the great multitude that came out of great tribulation. And then in Revelation 19:8 it says, and to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. And then over here you have the word Theo, which means God, the letters T, H, E, O, and it's right by where it says Jehovah over here. And then right under Jehovah it says, I will deliver. And then right under that it says, I am Jehovah. And then again you have Jehovah here. Oops. You have Jehovah right here. And so this is all coming within the word Theo, which means God. And then you have Phany over here in the pink, the letters P, H, A, N, Y. And that means to appear. So it's talking about the appearance of God. Theophany means the appearance of God. And then you have the word princes over here. And you have king a few times. This one is created by Nabocus effect. But you also have the word kings in the plain text a few times, as well as the word princes. You have coming up a few times in the plain text. You have kings here again. So you have kings and princes coming up several times in the plain text. And like I said, this is coming up in the first book of Kings, chapter 20, verses 9 through 18. So I don't know if this is giving us a range of years or not, but I think it's more than a coincidence that this is on the word Theophany and God and Yeshua, and is coming up with that range of numbers. And then this one was Theophany Jesus, and it was coming up with a very similar range of numbers. Okay, so now I want to get back to this table that read Theophany, Pentecost, Yesh, and Ruth. That one came up with 17 matches, and that was coming up in Deuteronomy 7, verses 6 through 13. And so I don't know if that's just another coincidence with the numbers. You have 17 matches here. You have Deuteronomy 7:7 here. This one says, Jehovah did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all peoples. So it's saying he didn't choose you because you were the greatest number of people, since you were the fewest number of people, but because Jehovah loveth you, and because he would keep the oath which he swore unto your fathers, hath Jehovah brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Okay, so now I'm going to go through some of the other tables that I tried. Okay, before I had added the word Ruth, when I just had Yesh up there, came up with 18 matches, and that was coming up in Exodus 19, which is very interesting because that's where it talks about the very first Pentecost. And if you recall this table that I did on Pentecost last year, on the last trump, I had put in last trump and Pentecost, and it also came up in Exodus 19, exactly where it was talking about the very first Pentecost, when God came down on Mount Sinai, and the mountain smoked because Jehovah descended upon it. This was the very first Pentecost, and this is exactly where it came up. But not only that, it was forming an image of Mount Sinai. Over here it says they stood at the nether part of the mountain, and then right here it says Mount Sinai. So it's like this is identifying Mount Sinai and the nether part of the mountain, which is the lower part of the mountain where they stood. It's right here, right where the lower part of the mountain would be. Okay, so this was coming up in verses 13 through 18, and then when I put in Theophany, Pentecost, Yesh, it was coming up in Exodus 19, verses 2 through 9. So this is just above these verses over here. So there's like 2 verses in between these 2 tables. And so I'll go over this table first. This one reads Theophany, Pentecost, Yesh, and you see Yesh over here in the blue going straight up and down with the letters Y, E, S, H, and it crosses over here where it says ye shall, but again you have the letters Yesh or Yeshua crossing through that, so I see that as another confirmation that this is talking about Yeshua because of the way it crosses and actually forms a cross. And it's coming up where God is saying, remember what I did and how I bear you on eagle's wings and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then ye shall be my own possession from among all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. And then you have Yesh again, or Yesha again right here, and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. That holy nation, these are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people and set before them all these words which Jehovah commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, all that Jehovah has spoken we will do. And I'll just stop right there. And then again you have Jehovah several times over here, or at least a couple of times. You have it again over here, Jehovah over here, and Jehovah over here. This is where you have the first part of the word Pentecost. You have Pente and then Cost over here. You have Theo over here, which means God, right next to where you have Yesh going this way and going this way as well, making a cross. And then you have Phany over here, which means appearance. And I'm about out of time, so I'll have to continue with more in the next video. Thank you.